Okay. Third time's a charm, perhaps? Okay. So this is going to be a fun episode. We decided that, first of all, we're going to start off with Chris, who's going to do the promised puppet show. And then we're going to talk about our run-ins with the Popo.
Yes, and I would like to thank Mary for the puppets and making this possible. This is, and as will be evidenced, not rehearsed at all. So this is a you get what you get puppet show, because I was also promised somebody would be helping.
Yeah, well, that was not me.
No, that was not
you. It was somebody in chat.
Yes.
I thought it was somebody in chat.
Who was that knew the song?
I don't know. And they're getting a pass because we don't remember.
Started with a K. Anyway, so as discussed, this was a beloved song from my childhood that we learned in grammar school music class. And I was shocked to learn that other people didn't know it, because I thought this was like everybody learned this in school. No, apparently not. Apparently this was in maybe major bilingual neighborhood. I don't know. Anyway, do you want me to start later and play musical accompaniment, or just go for it?
No, go for it.
Go for it. Okay. This is a song about Senor Don Gato. Oh, Senor Don Gato was a sad cat. On a high red roof, Don Gato sat. He went there to read a letter, meow, 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 where the reading light was better, meow, meow, meow. 'Twas a love note for Don Gato. I adore you, wrote the lady cat, who was fluffy white and nice and fat. There was not a sweeter kitty, meow, 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 in the country or the city, meow, meow, meow. And she said she'd wed Don Gato. Oh, Don Gato jumped so happily, he fell off the roof and broke his knee, broke his ribs and all his whiskers, meow, 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 and his little solar plexus, meow, meow, meow. Ay caramba, cried Don Gato. Then the doctors came ill on the run, just to see if something could be done. And they held a consultation, meow, 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 about how to save their patient, meow, meow, meow. How to save Senor Don Gato. But in spite of everything they tried, poor Senor Don Gato up and died. Oh, it wasn't very merry, meow, 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 going to the cemetery, meow, 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 for the ending of Don Gato. Don't worry, that's not the end. As the funeral passed the market square, such a smell of fish was in the air. Though his burial was slated, meow, 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 he became reanimated, meow, meow, meow. He came back to life, Don Gato. Yay! And that's how we get feral cat colonies, with lots of kittens.
Brava, brava, brava.
You know, if I made it, the only scream was you. Okay, so now to top that.
Absolutely epic. Well done.
So we're going to talk about the police and when we need them, and when they show up, and that sort of good thing. And what's really good is that Angie tells me that my 6 run-ins with the law are a little much.
Yeah. I'm going to put my groomer's wall back.
But Angie is a former police officer, so I'm going to run things by her, okay? So we'll talk about the first episode. And this was before I was mobile. This was back when I worked corporate. Okay. And it involves a total of 3 different police departments. Brookfield, this is all Connecticut. Brookfield, Newtown, New Fairfield, actually New Milford. Technically New Milford. Okay. So Brookfield. The store manager up and quits. And don't blame him because, corporate. The funny thing is that he took a job at the store adjacent. But anyway, they were changing the code every single day. Every single day, that code was changing on the corporate level. And so every single day, the whatever manager was coming in set off the alarm every single day. It was a joke. Okay. And so one day, I'm there. I started at 8 o'clock in the morning. My daughter was in high school, so I had to drop her off first. I dropped her off at 7:30, and then I started at 8. Worked for me. Okay, so it's just 2 of us in the store, and he sets off the alarm. No surprise, and then we get the phone call. This is the Brookfield Police Department. We need you to step out of the store, which we thought was a joke. Okay, all right, because it's been set off every single day. Okay, it was the joke among all the regional stores. So as a joke, Angie, we both raised our hands like we were being held hostage.
Okay, well, here's the step you were missing.
Yes.
What happens is when the alarm is triggered, the alarm company calls the store.
No, not in this case. They call corporate.
And corporate didn't said, we'll just send them. So that's when the police get rolled.
Okay, so my understanding of this, because one of my clients was a Danbury police officer, and she related to this later. Okay, so as a joke, we raised our hands, and then the next thing we know, there's like 6, 8 police cars roaring up with lights flashing into the parking lot. The only thing that was missing, okay, was the helicopter with the SWAT team rappelling down. All right. So needless
It's been a slow day. What can I tell you?
well, the thing is that they had been planning this because they knew we were setting off the alarms every single day. They were going to use it as a training exercise, but didn't tell us or anything like that. Okay.
That was a very opportune way to do that. I'm just saying.
All right. So, we walked out of the store. We got talked to about it. But I just really got the impression they really weren't that mad at us.
No.
How could they be? I mean, you were
It
at
happened.
work.
It happens. I mean, alarm calls are a routine call.
Right.
Especially if you're in a commercial district, you're going to get alarm code calls for different stores. It happens.
So one of my clients was a Danbury cop, and she literally calls me up at the store laughing her ass off. She goes, "Oh my God, just so you know, you made their day. They are going to be talking about this forever. And I'm going to have to hear about it forever, just so that you know." I'm like, I'm sorry? Okay, so that was the first time. Okay. That was the only time that happened at corporate. Let me tell you something, because we didn't do that shit again. Let's see.
Oh, so oftentimes they will bill.
Oh, yeah.
So if it's, especially if it's a routine and regular thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm sure Petco
you get billed for every officer and every car that showed up.
Yep. They should have had the helicopter. Might have taught them to make sure the manager of the day had the code.
That one incident probably cost them, this was about 25 years ago?
Yeah, give or take.
All right, so 8 cars, probably between $1,500 and $2,000. 20 years ago.
And I think they got off light.
20 years ago, $2,000 is probably about 6 or 7 now.
I still think even $6 or $7 grand, they got off light. All right, because we had,
learned their lesson.
I bet they did, but you know what? It put a damper on my day because now I had to start later. You
Yeah.
know,
Right. That's the only thing I'd be worried about. Come
Well,
on, I gotta get dogs in the tub. Let's go.
Right?
you know, if you're going to question me, can you come back to the bathing area? And
Yeah,
Exactly.
just come on. I'm going to go groom a dog. You can ask me anything you want.
Yep, yep.
so the second time, well, no, let's just stick with Brookfield. All right. So Brookfield, the next time Brookfield was involved was I'm at a client's house and this guy really gave me the creeps. You know, I was at this point thinking, you know what, I'm not coming back to this house anymore. All right. There's something weird about this guy. So I get to the house and the door is ajar. Okay. And I'm not going to ring the bell. I'm not getting any answer. I'm not walking in this guy's house. That is not going to happen. So I called the police department for like a wellness check saying, hey, this is the address I'm at. There's a bar. I have an appointment and nobody's answering. I was wondering if maybe you can get a wellness check. And Angie, when I tell you there was a police officer there in like 15 seconds. Well, apparently this guy was, he ran a strip club. He was under investigation for prostitution and pornography. The FBI van and the cops were like down the street because they were
surveilling the place.
yes. And when the call came in, again, my Danbury
They
cops
were like,
were
yes,
like, yeah.
we now have exigent circumstances.
Oh, wait, did that give them yeah, wow. Did that circumstances
They got the call that,
To-
hey, we
to
should go in
go
there now.
and check anything out in his house? Hey, somebody's worried in that house. We can just do
You can
anything we
enter the
like.
house.
So
Exigent circumstances.
15 seconds, there's this cop there, and he's in full gear with a camera. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna wait at the top of the driveway behind the stone wall.
I'd be over there.
I'll be over
We're
there.
far away.
So he knocks on the door and he's like, Brookfield Police Department. And then the client comes running out. She's wearing one of the people that live there. Okay. And she's wearing a loose robe. Okay.
One of those.
Yeah. So, and I will tell you this, and I will tell you this with 100% certainty. She was naked underneath that robe.
They
So
always are.
she gets a shepherd. And yeah, shepherd was very happy. We're not going to take that conversation any further than that. And groomed the dog, and that was the last time I was there. Okay.
Yeah. Because threat of life. Thanks, but no.
Yeah. So, and I just never contacted them again to set up an appointment. And when they called, I just let it go to message. Yes. And I totally ghosted them. And I will say I was very professional to do that because that was my business and I wasn't putting myself in any more danger.
I applaud you for doing the dog that time because I would have just said nope all the way to Nopesville. It would have been
Yeah, I
done.
would have noped out of that so hard.
I
I
would've said,
would have been
"Okay,
noping.
I'll see you
I'm
never.
never-
And then I drove away.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
All right. So the third time the Brookfield Police Department were called in, okay, middle of winter, and it's a lake community, and I am not pulling down this person's driveway. It's steep, and at the bottom of the icy driveway is like Candlewood Lake, so that's a no. I also can't park on the street because the street, it's a lake community. There's no way for anyone to go around me. If I park on the street, I'm blocking the road. So I'm like, okay, bring me the dog, and I'll just drive around to the other side there where it's regular streets, and I'll just groom the dog there, and we'll come back. Okay. So I set up, and I'm parked on the side of the road that it's vacant. Okay, so there's no houses or anything. I'm not parked in front of anybody's house. And all of a sudden, I'm grooming the dog, and this guy in his car pulls up like in front of mine, and you can see him looking in from his car. He can see what I'm doing. Okay. This is no question about what I'm doing. I've got a dog in the tub. Okay. So he calls the cops. Brookfield cops come again. And they're like rapping on the door, Brookfield Police Department. And so I open up the door and I let them in. I says, you can come in if you want. And I says, yeah, and they're apologizing to me. They said he called. He calls for everything. We're so sorry. But we have to come out because there's an unmarked van, because there was a stealth groomer at this point.
Oh, but it's a window in it. He can see
He
what
could
you're
see exactly what I was doing.
He just didn't want you to be there for whatever reason.
Well, yeah. So
The old man on the porch saying, "Get off my lawn!"
yeah. So, but the cops are like, "Oh, this is a really cool van." It's like, "You groom Patty's dogs?" I go, "Yeah, I do." All right. Can we check out the van? I'm like, knock yourself out. If somebody wants a tour, if one of you want a tour, one of you has got to stay with the dog. And no sooner than I said that, right? And they're like, "Oh, yeah, I'm getting paid for the dog now." So one of the cops is petting the dog and cooing, "Good boy," and I'm just showing the other cop around, and I hand it in front. This guy's just watching this. This guy's just watching it, okay? And I hand the guy my business card. I'm like, yeah, whatever. If you need your dog groomed, let me know. So those are my 3 Brookfield police departments, okay? And I really get the impression that the Brookfield Police Department is a little bit more laid back than most, meaning that they're reasonable police. They're not idiots.
Yeah. Use your brain.
Use your brain. Okay. So let's move into Newtown, Connecticut. Okay.
Oh God.
I am in the driveway with a fully decked out mobile grooming van, blue paw prints all over it. Says "Positively Pretty" on it. Okay. I get to the house. They've got 3 dogs. 2 of them are outside. All right. Put them into the van, go get the 3rd one. They forgot to turn off the alarm. Alarm goes off. I call her to tell her, and I grab the check on the counter and the dog, and I go into the van. And then I get the wrap on the vehicle. Okay. Newtown Police Department. Step out. I'm like, I'm not stepping out. I have 3 dogs in here. Okay. You can come in if you like, but I'm not coming out. Because my first response would have been, and the second I saw this guy's face, before I finish robbing a house, I groomed the dog, so it's less of.
You're washing away the evidence, don't you know?
Before I clean them out.
Right?
Before I clean up the house, I'm going to clean up the dog, so at least they don't feel so bad. And the second I saw this cop's face, I shut up. I said nothing. Okay. He, in my mobile grooming van, showing him the check that the owners made out to me. Okay. And I'm glad she didn't leave me cash that way, too. Yeah, that might have been a little harder to explain.
With a lot of cash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, before I steal from them, they're going to get their money's worth. What can I say? And I had to show my license and my registration of the vehicle. That was Newtown. Okay. So that's 4, correct? 5 is New Fairfield Police Department. And very wealthy neighborhood, by the way. All right. And it wasn't even so much me that set off the alarm, but the alarm had gone off even before I had gone there because the wind blew open. The wind was really strong on this hill. Literally forced open her door and she forgot to turn off her alarm. But again, checks on the counter. Now, this is a German Shepherd, Angie. So the alarm was off before I even got there. Okay. I groomed a German Shepherd, put him back in the house. And then as I'm leaving the cul-de-sac, the police is coming.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That had to have been a good hour, if not more. And it's like, they did not want to interrupt the burglary, did they?
No. See, now, honestly, what was probably happening They were short staffed. They had a med call. The bus was out of town. Ambulance was out of town. And as first responders, you can't leave the scene. So you're there and you're dealing with the whatever you've got until the ambulance comes. If you only have one ambulance that covers that area, it could take forever, or an unattended death.
Mhm.
And then you're waiting for the funeral home or the ME.
Okay.
So
I can't say if that actually happened that day, or the new Fairfield Police Department was like, when we get there, we get there. It's just a break-in. They have insurance.
that's if that alarm had gone off before.
And
If
that's
it
quite
was-
possible.
If this was a regular occurrence, they're probably just like, because in their eyes, it becomes lower priority. Because for the umpteenth time, the wind has pulled the door out and set the alarm off. That's a thing. So door alarms are set up by magnets. Okay.
Yeah.
So you got a magnet on the door and you got a magnet on the frame. And when the wind, if your door is loose and the wind pulls the door out, it triggers the alarm.
Mm.
So we go out there, tung, 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 looking around. It's completely dark. There's no one here. Try to get a hold of the owner. Oh, it's the wind. That happens all the time.
We need to get that fixed.
So the 18th time you've gone out there because the
Mhm.
wind pulled the door open,
Mhm.
it's not quite so much a priority anymore.
I did stop the cop and say, listen, I was just there grooming the dog. Just to let you know, I closed the door, relocked it, whatever. So the other one, and this was New Milford, and I never even got to meet the police officers there because the alarm went off, and now these were people who were more responsible about the alarm not going off. Okay. So I get there and the alarm goes off. Again, I grab the check, call the owners and say, hey, your alarm went off. Couldn't get a hold of them, left a message. And I groomed 2 big golden retrievers. Nobody ever showed up.
Well, it could be she called the alarm company.
Okay.
So if the owner calls the alarm company or the alarm company calls the owner and says your alarm went off, because when the salon alarm triggers, they'd call me and say your alarm's going off, and I'd pull up the cameras and look and go, okay, it was a.
Did you just see her flip her phone open? Did you see that movement? Did you flip? Look at the camera.
So yeah, so I look at the camera
Her
and
phone?
yeah, phone. Roll the window down. And then I look and see what was what. And if there was an issue, then I'd say, yes, please respond. If not, then no, it was a mouse. That had happened. A
Mhm.
Mouse got in the salon, was booking around in the front room and triggered the alarm because it's motion sensor. And it's 2:00 in the morning. And
All
there's
right.
motion. And I see the little guy going.
Okay. So if somebody wants to rob your shop, first they get a mouse, let it loose.
Well, no, the
No.
cop rolled because it was motion. They called me and said we are sending.
Okay.
You
Because
get
there's
a
motion.
dozen mice, and you do this
You wear them down over time, and then you make your
every
move.
other day. So you do it
It's
every
motion. They're going to
day
send
for
them
about
anyway. It's just going to cost me a buttload of money. That's all it's going to do.
Okay. All right. So Angie, former cop, 6 too many?
Yeah, 6 is too many. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's way too many. That is an extraordinary amount.
All right. So, on that note, does any of you ladies have any, or am I just like the only one?
I do
I
from the
have
other
one.
side, but
I
not
have one
as a
in my
groomer.
entire career of actually having a interaction with police that pertained to the salon, and that was in my salon that my current group of salon friends. When I was managing, um, my friend Erin, who you've all met at least one time, she had groomed a cat. She'd shaved it down. It was matted. Per instructions, she'd shaved it down. The cat became very cross with her and basically told her that it was time to stop the groom. Well, I wasn't there that day. I was in the next day. So I didn't know everything. Now, as a side note, Erin is a fantastic groomer, and she loves cats. Like cats would be her specialty. If she could have an entire cat clientele, she would just be in heaven. She loves cats, and she grooms very well. And so I get a call from her in the evening saying, "Oh my gosh, this guy really was scaring me. He came in and said it was a terrible groom, and and he wanted his money back, and this, that, and the other." I said, "Did you give him his money back?" And she said, "No, no, I didn't." And I said, "Well, good. Have the receptionist call him and say that I will meet him in the morning. Bring the cat." Because I at least wanted evidence. Did she cut the cat? I mean, it happens. It happens.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe she was having an off day and it was a crappy groom. Da 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 da. On and on.
Could have been anything.
It could have been anything. So I said, "Well, let him know that I'll be there at such and such time in the morning. Have him bring the cat in. I'll look it over and we'll see what happens." So I go in the morning. He shows up at the scheduled time, brings the cat. The cat's still freaked out because he's yelling at the top of his lungs. He's literally he stands above me. He's literally trying to fake me out and body check me. It was so wild. He's like, "I need to call the authorities. You are going to refund this money." And I'm like, "Okay, calm down, sir. Now I may be little, but I'm pretty fierce, and I don't put up with that. You know, I come from a place you don't realize." And he was like trying to intimidate me and this that, and the other, thinking that I was going to break down and just hurry up and give him his money back. I'm like, "No." I said, "Let me see the cat." So he lets the cat loose in the lobby and not even giving me the kennel so I could look in there and, examine the cat. The cat's all freaked out. Sweet cat. He was just kind of freaked out and wondering, why am I in the open here? I don't understand. The cat was immaculate, smelled fresh. The fur was clean. There was no lines in the clipping. Now, mind you, she didn't taper the boots. She didn't blend the boots. But the cat had decided it was done with the groom at that time yesterday. And I told him that. And he was like, "Oh, no, I'm going to call the authorities. I could have groomed this cat better myself." And I'm like, "Well, why didn't you?" I said, "Well, why didn't you then if you could have done it better?" And he's like, "Well, I want my money back. I want my money back." And I'm like, "Sir, no." I said, "Even if you were upset with the groom, the services were performed." And he insisted, and I'll never forget it. He kept saying, "I want the authorities, the authorities." Now, mind you, he'd driven up in a custom pearl paint job Escalade. And so I'm like, I told the receptionist at the time, I'm like, "Call the police. Call the police in here." And it was during COVID too. It's all special. It was during COVID. Well, everybody was waiting in a line, distance from each other outside. And I'm like, "Sir, could you step outside and at least let me get these other clients in?" And at first he refused. He's like, "No, I want my money back." I'm like, "Oh, the police are coming. Could you stand outside so that we can serve these other clients?" And when he went outside, the door was wide open. He was still yelling. I'm like, "Thank you." And he's like, "You're not welcome." I mean, he was off the chain. And I think the bill was like $90 or whatever for this particular cat. And he just kept insisting, "I want my money. I want my money. I want my money." And he stepped out. Two police cars came because we said, "This guy's crazy." They might have had to subdue him. Like, he was that crazy. And to come forward like that and try to stand over me. I'm only 5'1". He's trying to stand over me and intimidate me, yelling the entire time, scaring the crap out of my staff, everything. And the police officer went outside and talked to him, and the other police officer came inside and talked to us. And I ran it down what had happened. And he's like, do you feel safe? And I'm like, no, and then he goes, you know what? Stay here. I'm going to go with my partner and talk to him outside. And I guess he was in the same way with the officers.
Of course.
He's going to give me the money. Yeah, I insist that blah, blah. I'm like, number one, that's not how things work.
Yeah.
They're not there to make you give your money back. They're there to take statement. And if you're acting up, they take you away. So the other police officer stayed with the guy and made him stay outside because he kept trying to come in. And the one came in to me, and it was so funny because I don't know the lingo. I don't know the whatever. And he's like, okay, ma'am. So I see that I see how he's acting towards you and you don't feel safe. I'm like, no, we don't feel safe with him around. He goes, well, what, I can only criminally trespass him. So if you wanted him criminally trespass, I can criminally trespass him. He kept saying it over and over again. I'm like, and I got it. I was like, oh, okay. Yes. I would like him criminally trespass, please. He's like, oh, that's all I needed to hear, ma'am.
Okay. Criminal trespass is a condition of, that's why he said, you don't feel safe,
mm-hmm.
Right?
Exactly. And we didn't. I mean, that was not a lie. He was weird.
No.
This guy was crazy.
Well, that's a condition. So you can't criminally trespass somebody who's moseying through your lawn like say a 5-year-old is riding his bike and he rides his bike over your lawn and you're like, I want him criminally trespassed. It's a 5-year-old.
And not only that, we had asked him to leave several times, and he wouldn't leave. And not only that, we had, of course, a recording of the whole thing, which we wanted to show them. And he's like, "That's not even necessary. I see how this." He's like, "That's not." He goes, "Keep it in case something happened." And he's like, "We will, we have your address here. You call us, and we'll be here in under 2 minutes because we just have a little local. It's a suburb of Phoenix, so it's just like a little." Rich area, and they do. If you are part of the business trade in a small area, those police take care of you because you donate to them. That's why they're there. You know what I mean? Yeah, they did make him leave, and then he had the most terrible Yelp review or Google review or whatever, where he told on himself. He was like, I can't believe it. I just wanted my money back, and then I get criminally trespassed, blah, blah. Well, you're telling on yourself. I can't criminally trespass you. Only the police can, which means you were acting up enough to be criminally trespassed. So I didn't even acknowledge it. Like, you'll find that whenever I give advice over bad reviews, unless the dog's actually hurt and they're just mouthing off about their customer service treatment or this, that, and the other, I don't even respond because they tell on themselves. And that's my one claim to having the police come to a salon in my entire career. But it was so wacky and so wild that I couldn't believe that I had to call police on a client who got a really nice groom on their cat. It was so wild, And then we did get on AZ Groomer Facebook group for bad clients and just said, okay, this is what happened. Be on the lookout for this guy. He's got, a couple Persians. He drives a custom Pearl Escalade. Get in your Escalade with your $90. Get out of here. Get out of here. So, yeah, that's the one time.
I actually remembered I have 3.
Okay, so now I don't feel so bad.
Okay, I actually, now that you mention it, now thinking about it, there were 3 at the salon.
Okay.
So
4 at the salon.
Okay. So the first one, this is not in any particular order. Okay. In order, the first one was a bather that I was training to be a groomer. Corporate wanted to fire her, so they told me to cut her hours. And the irony here is, like, we're having fights about training, and it was not a good situation, but corporate higher ups told me to cut her hours. And she had such a hissy fit over that. And she went, I'm full time. You can't cut me below X amount of hours. I quit on a Saturday and walked out.
Bye.
And the funny ass thing was, she was right. So if she would have handled that better, anyway. But she was sending me threatening texts. like I'll pour sugar in your gas tank and all this and that. So I actually
Dude.
consulted with the police, like, should I be concerned? And they were like, well, we can get a restraining order. I mean, she did put that shit in writing, so because she dumb.
Yeah.
But and I I don't even care if she's listening to this. That was a dumbass thing to do.
Mm.
Anywho, the second, maybe the third in order time was boring, and it was just an issue of they forgot to turn their alarm off when I was coming house calls. So the police showed up and I'm walking the dog. And I'm like, yeah, I'm the one who
Stealing.
set
You
it
were
off.
stealing the dog, weren't you?
And they're like, oh, dog walker. I'm like groomer, but yeah. They're like, oh, all right, because the fun one, the fun one was it was a couple weeks before Thanksgiving or Christmas or in that lovely holiday joyous time of year. I get warned. I wasn't even the manager, but I was just the more senior person on duty. I get warned by one of the bathers that this woman may be calling back because the bather hung up on a client because the client started cussing at her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what had happened was the client called. She's like, I have an appointment with Justine. We're like, we don't see you. We don't see you while you're not on the books today. But she doesn't come in till 11. You're one of her regulars. I'm sure she can get you in. We just can't tell you when to come in because that's her call. And this was like early. I mean, this was obviously before 11 a.m. So I pick up the phone when she calls. That bitch hung up on me. Ma'am, maybe she hung up on you because she got talked to like that. I didn't start cussing until I said, so I explained to her the situation. Well, I'm coming down. I said, we can't do anything for you. If you just wait until we have your information, Justine will call you. Well, she shows up. She shows up, right? With her dog.
That card would be lost for forever.
Oh,
forever.
This was corporate, and she was in the computer.
Erased. Don't know you.
We red flagged her. Anyway, so she comes in, and I tried to tell the bather to stay in the back, and she's like, "No, I'm fine." So I'm trying to explain to this woman nicely, we're not checking your dog in. We're not taking your dog. We have to find out what's. So the bather comes up to answer the phone. And she goes, that's the bitch that hung up on me.
Doubling down.
So the bather, who was 5'1", ball of little anger, former dancer, comes out. They are literally, I'm thinking they're about to fight each other. The customer is literally doing this. Come at me. Come at me. Okay. I'm like, am I in a movie? Mm-hmm. I remembered, I'm not going to say that. That's very politically incorrect. But I remembered that, I can call the police. I picked up the phone. Meanwhile, one of the cashiers, who is huge, big person, trying to hold on to this little ball of fury and pull her back, not working. I'm like, we have a customer here who's threatening to fight one of our employees. Can you please come? Where this is not good. Can you please come? I forget what I said. I said she was trying to fight one of our employees. I think she's going to hurt her. Can you? The manager comes in. He's like, well, first of all, we're not going to groom your dog today. Little bather goes, that's all I needed to hear, leaves. Just turns off the fury and leaves the salon. I'm like, what the? Meanwhile, the groomer comes in, knowing nothing of what's going on, because now things have kind of de-escalated a little bit. And she's like, "Oh, is Buster here for me today?" And we're like, "No, get in the back." No. Just get in the back. So, and the crazy thing is, no, you cannot have the cat puppets. The crazy thing is, the customer legit thought we were going to groom her dog that day. Because the bather leaves, she's like, "Okay, so what I want for Buster is," puts him on the, and we're like, "No." "Oh, everything's fine." And then the police walk in. Oh, she's like, "Oh, everything's fine." Now we're like, "Get out." Who's like, "What?" So they just leave the grooming salon. And I'm like, the best part of that is, so then the bather tells me later, she's like, "Girls, you got to call them. Tell me when you're calling the cops. I got warrants for outstanding parking tickets or outstanding traffic tickets. You can't just call the cops and not let me know." And I'm like, they don't start fights with customers. I don't know what to. And the best line though,
I'm
the
one
best
from
line,
Moida.
the best line from her was, "So early in the morning, did she just like wake up and be like, 'Fuck you, sausage'?" So yeah.
Meanwhile, this poor dog is just in the
Meanwhile,
mixes. That hurts me the most because these animals have no control over the situation. And here they are just stuck between all this angst and screaming and scary.
the worst part is we tried to red flag the customer, but because it's corporate, they took her back. I think they just said that the other person had to bring the dog in. Like she couldn't bring the dog in anymore. Meanwhile, yes, the groomer was like, "I would have squeezed the dog in if she just acted like a normal person. I don't understand what all this is about."
That's insane.
Yeah, it was a little insane.
Well,
That was insane.
3 of mine were all for the same purpose. 3 separate incidences, 4 separate people. One of them was a pair. My salon used to be, for 20 years, was a veterinary hospital. 3 separate occasions, people came in looking for drugs, ketamine to be precise.
Oh,
So all of the exterior doors, so there's the waiting room, and there's what was an exam room, which became the cat bunny room, and the next room, which was the picture room. The exterior doors, the ones that faced the waiting room, had bedroom, bathroom locks on them. So you just and shut the door. And we kept those shut and locked so that should some fruitcake come in looking for drugs, they weren't rifling through our rooms. And then the half doors both have locks on them as well. So they all pretty much went the same way. They'd come in, they were non-responsive, trying to open the doors, and them getting aggressive. I would assist them out the door ever so gingerly. Well, Ange called the police, and half the time they'd be running radar in our parking lot. So they were never really far from there. And they would come in and they would help us send them on their way, so to speak. And
These are people that were already affected by their addiction, I'm sure. Just they were.
oh yeah. The last one, she tried to get into a customer's car. And so I went out there because she had opened the door, and I just went out and I shut the door and I was like, "Please lock it." And she's like, click. It was a little old lady. And so she's like, "Oh, are you okay? Are you okay?" I'm like, "It is already called. Police will be here soon." And so the last one was a doodle that um, had come in, and I had groomed the dog a few times. She hadn't been in for 6 months.
Mhm.
And this dog's hair was long. I'm talking like 8 inches long at this point. Because the last time it had been groomed, it was like a 2-inch clip.
Mhm.
And I told her, I said, I will gladly keep it longer if you brush.
Mhm.
Brush. She didn't brush. She didn't brush. So on intake, you have the comb, and you're like, she's like, I want it like this long. And I'm like, and it just kind of stands there in the back.
Mhm. Mhm.
You're like, yeah,
You could
um,
use it as a pegboard at that time.
yeah. And it's like, okay, well, here's the comb. If you can get it through wide side, anywhere on that dog, let me know. And she's like, that'll go through. And I'm like, all the way to the skin. And she's like, she went over the whole dog. Shockingly enough, couldn't even find the skin. She's like, well, I don't want him shaved. And I was like, okay, I understand. And she's like, yeah. And I went over and I opened the door. And I was like, and she's like, what's that supposed to mean? And I'm like, your only option is to shave the dog. If you don't want the dog shaved,
You
then,
take it out of here.
then you're on your way.
Mhm.
I've told you what I can do. You don't want this as an option. I thank you very much for coming in today, and I hope you have a great day. And she's like, you're not going to groom the dog? And I'm like, you're asking for what is impossible. I cannot possibly do what you are asking. And I don't want to have you be angry that you're not going to get what you want.
Mhm.
Since I cannot do what you want because you're stupid.
Oh, now you're extra by. Now you're extra by. Into your face. I know.
Mm. I just looked over at Ange and I was like, hmm, hmm. So we have under our desk a very nice round, approximately this size here, panic button.
Mhm.
And it is attached to the side of the desk. And you take your knee and you just go bloop. And it sends the popo. And they come, and it's completely silent. And there is no way of knowing except for the little light on the alarm bar that turns from green to red.
Red.
Just a quick question: how, if somebody wanted that panic button, how do they get one?
It's through the ring system. So it's part of the ring alarm system.
Oh, okay.
So it connects to the alarms and the cameras and the door sensors and the motion sensors and
It's
all
part
that.
of a package then.
Right. It's
Mhm.
all part of the whole dealie.
Mhm.
Okay.
And so it, literally, Ange would be sitting at the desk and she'd just go boop with her knee. And then
Mhm.
I'd get this huge smile. So it escalated from there. And I said, ma'am, I hope you have a very nice day. As I am unable to do what you are asking, I ask that you now please leave. I'm not freaking leaving. You're gonna groom this dog. Da, 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 da.
I want to know if that's ever worked for anyone. I want to know.
I just kind of stood
You're
there.
right. You've yelled at me and called me names for a half an hour now. Sure, I'll do the dog now. I
Yeah.
don't know when is that successful.
I literally had my elbow on the counter like this, and I'm just looking at her, and and yeah.
Mhm.
And then Angie's brother came up, who also happens to be the police officer in town. That was grin. And he came in behind me, and I was like, "Oh, hi, Todd." Um, so it would appear uh, we have a disorderly person on the premises, and as this has escalated to the point of aggression, um, I would like you, since she has refused my requests for her to leave, perhaps your request for her to leave um, may come off better. And he is like, right, sure. And he turns and he's like, ma'am, you have
Ma'am.
to leave. And he's like, are you grooming the dog? And I'm like, no, dude, to take the dog too. Hurry the
Take
dog.
the dog too.
Dog too. Get out, get out, get out. I don't want to come back. No, get the dog. Get the dog. And he's like, oh, okay, all right. Ma'am, if you'd please come with me, we can get you on your way. And she's like, I'm not leaving. She's grooming my dog. I have
Best
an
case
appointment.
scenario, they haul her off to jail, and you shave down her dog because it's in the salon. Sorry, go ahead.
And no, no. And so she was like, that stupid bitch. And he's like, let's not go there. And so then Angie came around the side of the counter and she opened the door and she said things I cannot say on YouTube, but it started with an F and the next word started with a C.
Oh,
And who is that? Mm-hmm.
wow.
And it was like, what? That's her brother standing right there.
Mhm.
The man with the gun and the
Mhm.
cuffs. And he went, excuse me? And he's like, I will literally give you the count of 3. And then I am not going to let you leave as I will be arresting you for disorderly person. 1, 2, that was the fastest 3 count. That wasn't even a Mississippi, it was a Mississippi. And he was at 3. And she was like, wah! And she out of the slot. She went
Like a cartoon.
and the dog's leash got caught in the screen door, and it's like clack. And Ash pushed the door open, and she parting shot repeated her last greeting, we could say.
Wow.
And
Yeah, I just don't know where that works. When has that worked ever?
and then she calls back a month later to schedule an appointment.
Wow.
And Angie, my assistant, God bless that woman, somehow she does really good with the crazy people because she said, oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. After our last interaction, we took you off of our client list, and at this time, we're not accepting new clients. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you very much for calling Fairy Tales. And she hung up the phone.
Click.
And I was like, how did you pull that off? It was just like, so smooth and so professional and blah 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 and then click and I was like, you're worth every penny.
And we are up on the hour, so I think it's time we need to wrap this up.
Okay,
We'll see everybody next week, and we'll have a serious topic. Don't ask me what it is. We'll figure that out next
or
week.
maybe not, we'll see.
Or maybe not. All right. Night, everybody.